Hey, it's Greg Grand. Welcome to Real Estate Road Trip Houston style. Got ourselves another mule for the trip. We ran around Houston, found a couple of secrets we're going to reveal to you about real estate investment opportunities. This is American Real Estate meets American muscle cars. Thanks for watching. So I've been doing this for a really long time. For the last 15 years, it's been my mission in life to analyze markets around America and figure out where lift is coming in. Okay, lift is a term that we use for where if a market is elevating because of certain factors, but then it has extra lift. There's other factors that make the market even a better investment because our philosophy is different than a lot of other people's. When you hear investing in the housing market, a lot of times people automatically think buying a half-price foreclosure, buying a junker, fixing it up, flipping it. I have no interest in any of that. The houses we buy are in perfect condition or even brand new condition. We look for the opportunities where the market is taking off. And so here we are in Houston. It's a great example. But the funny thing about Houston is that people are always trying to count Houston out. I mean, if you look at the Houston Chronicle, article after article after article going back 10 years, oil prices are down, Houston's done, housing market's done. Oh, we had a big hurricane, had a lot of flooding, that sucked, and Houston is done, right? So all the people in Houston who were worried about the hurricane, who were worried about job losses, had an extra worry layered onto their consciousness, which was that the housing market was going to plummet and stay down. Everyone loves to call the market out, everyone loves to call Houston down and out. And every single time it comes fighting back, every single time, because all that short-term pain that flares up is just put to rest by all the long-term gain. So we found 3 markets around Houston that we think have extra lift. So Texas has lift, Houston has lift, resilient lift, and there are 3 pockets that we discovered in and around Houston that have something pretty special going on. I'm going to share them with you today. Our first stop is we're heading up to the Woodlands, a part of the Houston area that's got a little secret that people around here know about, but folks around the country probably don't. People are very quick to call Houston a dead market every time the oil prices drop below the median level. I've heard it for years. It happened back in the 1980s. When the oil prices dropped several years ago, they thought Houston was over, but Houston's changed. Houston got very diversified. But there's a corridor called the Energy Corridor to the west of the city that has had some trouble in its real estate market because the energy jobs are very heavy in that market. And when the energy industry is not hiring, and when jobs are tight, and when there may even be layoffs for no other reason but the oil prices are down, revenues are down, that corridor hasn't seen as much growth. But something else really interesting happened, and that is the giant ExxonMobil consolidated 10,000 employees from campuses all over the country, some here, several elsewhere, brought them all into a new facility that we're going to head to right now. And what's happened is the real estate market has exploded in Woodlands, Texas, because energy prices are down and because in response to that, ExxonMobil consolidated employees. Let's go check it out. So we're making a left on Energy Drive right now, and we're pulling into this new massive corporate campus, ExxonMobil. I love when you see short-term pain, but inherent in that is long-term gain. Don't believe headlines when you read them. Look deeper. Try to find out what's actually happening. So you have a situation where all the indicators would be negative, right? The market is down, the economic driver is down. Why would you want to invest in housing? Well, because of that exact fact, a different part of Houston is getting lit up. No pun intended. This is a beautiful area, and now we're getting into the residential real estate. We're talking about a bike ride from that 10,000 employment facility to some pretty lovely neighborhoods. All right, so now we're literally 1.25 miles away from 10,000 high-paying jobs over at that Exxon facility. You see the neighborhood around me here. These are the kind of houses that I love to buy, all right? They're in great condition. They're in a place where you can picture after school there'll be kids playing in this park and on this block. And these are going to be in high demand because they're so close to where the jobs are. They're nice, safe neighborhoods. We drove past some lovely brand new retail on the way through. This is the kind of stuff that I look for. Show me a great house near a great uplifting economic activity and opportunity, and you're not going to lose if you think about long-term investing. What if I told you there was a place in Texas where you couldn't have a beer while you had your steak, and how that had a suppressing effect on the real estate market? We're going to Valley Ranch, stop number 2. This is a place that was a dry town, maybe a dry county. In other words, you couldn't get a beer with your steak, you couldn't get a glass of wine with your salmon, right? And so what that means is there's no good restaurants. Okay, restaurants can't make a living if they can't sell you booze along with your dinner. And so this was a town that had its real estate values, i.e. the demand to live here, was suppressed by something very real, which is that, you know, nightlife matters to a lot of people. The whole foodie trend matters to a lot of people, and you weren't going to have that here. And so I would imagine that for years there were people probably pounding their fists saying, we want beers, and they weren't getting any traction with the politics because that wasn't the right message. Then some visionary people came together and launched something called the Restaurant Initiative. The Restaurant Initiative is different than we want booze. But what that tells me, as a guy from the outside looking in, is that visionary developers connected with visionary politicians and said, look, if we reposition this, not as we want booze, but we want a restaurant lifestyle, that signaled two things. First of all, they got approved. So now this is no longer a dry town or dry county. So the restaurants are coming in, but it also signals to all kinds of developers that you've got a development-friendly government. Okay, you look out this window over here, you see new retail, you see new restaurants, you see new apartments, and then you go a quarter of a mile in any direction, and there's housing neighborhoods, and those housing neighborhoods are becoming more valuable. Because if you lived out here, but you didn't have any of this around you, your neighborhood wasn't as desirable as other neighborhoods in the next town over or the next county over. So I think you're looking at a place right now, because of a political movement, the values are going to get pressed up. People are going to be attracted in, and if you own a single family home in this marketplace, you're going to win. So those were our two suburban markets. Now we're heading back into the city again. We've got a neighborhood right in the center of Houston, downtown, that's going through a gentrification. Those are always winners, so let's go check it out. Here we are in downtown Houston, or just outside of it. We just had some authentic Texas barbecue, and we're headed to a neighborhood in the university area that I'm told fits the same description of so many other neighborhoods inside or just outside of inner cities, places that had become tough neighborhoods and then were becoming gentrified. Gentrified as in hipsters are moving in, right? Hipsters are great. You watch what hipsters do. You watch a couple of coffee shops go in, a couple of beards start showing up. They like going into neighborhoods that are on their way back up again. And this is the kind of thing that exists all over America in cities everywhere. So we're going to give you an example of one, and hoping that maybe you'll be able to find one of those near where you are. We're just outside of downtown Houston, and we're following Rich Drake in the car in front of us here, and Rich is going to show us a neighborhood that I think is reflective of something that probably exists in almost any city in America, and that is a neighborhood that has become, for one reason or another, kind of blighted, and now is turning itself around again.
Look to the left here. These apartments were not here a year ago, and this was a pipe storage facility with grass growing over the fence. And it's horrible.
Now, what was happening with the train station, Rich, that we just drove past?
Yeah, so this is the light rail, and it's just recently been extended down this way. It actually dead ends down here a little ways, but a lot of people are using it. This will take you downtown. It'll take you to all the stadiums, things like that. So a lot of people can get to games and such without having to park and drive and deal with it.
That's another thing that I look for whenever there's an extension. So how long ago did the light rail come further out to this location?
Oh, I'd say they've been done with it about a year.
So these houses in the neighborhood to our left over here, have they become more valuable already because of the turnaround of some of the blighted area, plus the commutability to downtown?
You know, 10 years ago, these were bought in very much disrepair for 30 grand and sell them fixed up for 79.9, 89.9. They're over 200 now.
Over 200 now. Why don't we hop out of the car? Let's hop out of the car and do the rest of this live, okay? All right, so this is Rich Drake. He's the CEO of Renters Warehouse in Houston. They're a property management company and real estate investment brokerage company. He was filling us in the car. And so give me the profile of a typical 3-bedroom, 2-bath house in this area. What would it cost somebody and what kind of yield would they generate?
You know, there's very few two bathrooms. Most of them are 3-1s.
Okay.
The ones that have 3-2 or 4-2 are very valuable. 10 years ago, we were buying them wholesale in the 20s and 30s, and fix them up, rent them for $795, or sell them for $70,000, $80,000. Today, we're paying $70 for a completely trashed house, and turning it around and selling for $130, $140 after it's fixed up, and then, or you can rent it for $1,250, $1,300.
So we're going to this event tonight, and you've got 500 of your closest friends coming
Just a
out.
couple. Free food and free beer.
That'll work. Yeah,
Most people are there for the free beer.
Awesome.
The rest are here to see you. The other three.
So, so $4.97 here for the beer and $3 to come hear me. That's awesome.
It's people who finally get the picture that single families become this real asset class, and institutions are looking. I'm very interested to hear what you have to say tonight about that. But they're figuring out that the yields that we get on rental property, if you could do that consistently in the stock market, you'd be a billionaire. Right. Because you'd be the genius and own the biggest hedge fund in the world.
Right.
But here we can routinely get double-digit returns up to 20% without really any effort at all. That's
awesome.
what people have to understand.
Let's go to the country club.
Let's do it.
All right.
We got another fellow back here. This is Greg Rand, otherwise known as the Chief Strategy Officer for Renters Warehouse USA.
Nice to see you. Thank you very much for having me, everybody. I'm excited about this. So Houston is an interesting city when it comes to media. Back when oil prices went down back in, was it 2012, 13, something like that, 11, whatever it was. And the stories back then were Houston's over. Houston is only the energy industry. And so it's over, right? And I saw that and I'm thinking to myself, is the energy industry the only industry in Houston? So I looked it up and it's not. It's an important one. It's not the only one. It's still here. It's always going to be here. Let me tell you what actually has been happening in the housing market nationally and then in Houston for the last several years. The green line is Houston, okay? So here is where they said oil prices are down, Houston's over. Here's where they said, all those idiotic headlines I showed you before, they happened along this chain right here. That little steep right here, I think we're going to be in a not so steep period until we sort of do this for a while. Me being honest about the fact that that shouldn't continue. You wouldn't want it to, because if that went up too much further, it would have to give some back. We don't want to give any back. Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.